gentlemen, I am glad to be here with you this morning. I'm delighted to see all of you here. Welcome to all the dignitaries and the speakers who can be here with us today. And I'm sure you're going to have a ball of a time in discussing one of the most serious questions of our own continent. Now, improving the lives of the people of Africa is the moral imperative of our time. And it has been bestowed on us to take moral responsibility for this imperative. The big challenge, however, lies in the question of precisely how and precisely in which way we should tackle this question. So I welcome this conference here, and I see it as an opportunity to pool the thoughts and come up with some collective approaches to the very important question of the lives of our people, and especially in the context of asking the question in terms of also future generations. As you know, Africa is faced with serious questions and challenges. We score poorly on the UNDP's Human Development Index, which measures life expectancy, education, and GDP. Of the world's 24 least developed countries, 22 are African. And our performance on the Corruption Perceptions Index of Transparency International is equally dismal. Of the bottom 50 countries, 21 are African. There seems to be some correlation between these questions and the question of governance, and also the question of development. There is an argument that goes that Africa is underdeveloped because graft is so rife here. Public officials and politicians abuse their power for personal gain, and businesses bribe their way to wealth. As a consequence, the argument goes, scarce resources are squandered and citizens do not receive the services they need. And then this prescribed cure is good governance. Corporations and governments alike should behave more ethically. The core values of honesty, transparency, and accountability should guide all actions. On the other hand, there are critics of this view saying that it works the other way around. Corruption is the symptom, not the cause of development, of problems around questions of development. And by demonizing the state, the institutional development needed to sustain democracy is also undermined. Now, as this debate drags on and people strengthen the views in these two different directions, the people in the streets, the people in their homes are taking their own stand. In South Africa, we have seen questions around service delivery and protests related to that, and that how much of the landscape it had become in our own context. Hardly a day goes by without citizens taking to the streets somewhere to demand a better life. Now, you know, it is the most difficult thing. There was a scholar known as Paulo Freire, who wrote his first book was called A Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And he said, we must find a way to connect education and the questions of the oppressed in such a way that we can give them hope and help them to play a critical role in their societies. And he did a lot of that. And it became important for people then to stand up for themselves, stand up for questions around service deliveries in their own countries, and show their strong views around what was going on with regard to to governance in their time. And I want to come back to him again later on. Our fellow Africans seem to be in agreement about what the priorities should be. According to the most recent World Values Survey, 63% of all African correspondents have identified poverty as the most serious problem of the world, and for them, in a very particular way, the heart of the problem. Consensus is also emerging about the direction that Africans want to head into. An overwhelming 90% of respondents described a democratic political system as a good one for them. And just more than two-thirds, 64%, said neither bribery nor cheating on taxes were ever justifiable. A piece of good news is that Africa has experienced a surge of good corporate governance initiatives of late, often driven by the private sector and by professional bodies. The expectation is that self-regulatory practices will inspire and inform governance reform on the political level as it does so through the different systems that lead into that political context. On this score, there have been encouraging developments in Africa, such as the emergence of the African Union at the turn of the century, followed by NEPAD, the new Plan for Africa's Development, and its African peer review mechanism. Of course, none of these initiatives mean much if they remain empty rhetoric. Policies only acquire significance once they are implemented. This is the real challenge that confronts us in Africa, to turn the hope that we have and the hope that we see into action. The host of this conference, the Unit for Corporate Governance in Africa, is doing precisely that. And I'd like to congratulate them. The unit forms part of the University of Stellenbosch Business School, a leading provider of internationally accredited postgraduate management degrees and executive education. It is one of our strategic projects aimed at creating hope in Africa and from Africa. The USB was the first African signatory of the UN's Principles for Responsible Management Education initiative, which is aimed at developing a new generation of business leaders capable of managing the complex challenges faced by business and society in the 21st century. And this is one of the big challenges of higher education in South Africa, but also throughout the continent, that is to reposition ourselves to become role players in higher education in the 21st century, meaning that we have to look at how we have grown in the 20th century and then begin to do the repositioning for the 21st century. Ladies and gentlemen, when I listed some of Africa's woes earlier, you might have gotten the impression that this continent is indeed the basket case that the Afro-pessimists make it out to be. But it is not so. We have seen in the world a lot of poverty connected to despair, yes. We have also seen a lot of wealth connected to false hope, yes. But what we know is that among our people on this continent, we have deep-seated islands of hope. And at Stellenbosch University, we want to do whatever we can to grow those islands of hope into continent-wide, one single island of Africa. We have drawn out from the International Development Agenda 5 themes on which to focus our core activities. That means we have taken our teaching and learning, our research, and our community interaction and remolded it around these 5 themes. And the aim is to marry higher education with development and economic growth comprehensively. We believe that by